Hey, QuantumJoker, you know what I'm in the mood for?
What, Victor?
I'm in the mood for Dr. Pepper.
So am I, but it's really hard to find in Australia.
It's easy enough to find here. I'm gonna go get me some Dr. Pepper.
Awesome! Bring me a can too, okay?
Dr. Pepper, Wait a minute. I don't even like Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper gives me headaches. Why do I want Dr. Pepper all of a sudden?
It lost all the cherry taste in it. I know what you mean.
But, oh. I just finished watching Godzilla 1985.
That was one of the most blatant examples of product placement in a recent movie, you know. There are Dr. Pepper vending machines all over the place in that movie.
Oh, well, one of the first, one of the big scenes where they're all waiting out to see how the nuclear bomb went or something like that. One of the characters is sipping quite noticeably from a Dr. Pepper can.
I remember that.
Was the most shameless thing I have ever seen in a film.
Well,
all right, so we are talking about Godzilla 1985. At least that's what it's known in the American release. In Japan, it was called Godzilla Godzilla Returns or Godzilla 1984. Take your pick.
Well, personally, I find Godzilla 1985, as I know it, to be one of the best in the franchise. It had quite an engaging political subtext to it, in the form of Cold War tensions. The personal drama was managed fairly well. The special effects and miniature work was quite excellent for most of the film. And it returning Godzilla to the state to the state of essentially a primal destructive force was a welcome decision, considering all the childish hippie-like content of the previous decade, in which Godzilla was portrayed as an improbably good guy. What do you think, Victor?
Well, I can't say that I like this film a whole lot. I do see what you're saying with the political subtext, but at the same time, I think that hurts it a bit. It dates it very specifically. I don't know.
I don't
know
mind
how much of that is their fault, but the Cold War stuff was applying that sort of realism to the Godzilla franchise was kind of cool, but it didn't really mesh with me. As for the miniature work, the cities look great. All the sets look great.
Extraordinary.
Godzilla looks kind of terrible, I have to say. Maybe, he looked more rubbery, and his eyes were kind of googly, which really didn't help in my mind.
Although some reviewers have praised, given I suppose an offhanded compliment to the vacant look of Godzilla's eyes within Godzilla 1985. Say the reviewers have complimented the look for giving Godzilla somewhat of a ruthless zombie-like appearance. And I suppose it's also worth noting that you would remember that say the animatronic head used for close-up shots bears little resemblance to the overall Godzilla suit. I noticed that as perhaps a weak part of the a weak example of the special effects, but it is still quite reminiscent of the 1954 Godzilla film, in that the puppet head used for most of the thermonuclear breath scenes, it looked very little like the Godzilla suit. In that respect, I suppose, in some roundabout way, the weakness of the special effects made for a more authentic Godzilla film.
Yeah, actually, with the eyes, the trouble with that, you said it's to make people would say it looked a little bit more. Well, basically, like he was a mindless, destructive force to some degree. Is
Yes.
kind of the idea.
Yeah.
But he looked sarcastic the entire time. That was the trouble.
Really?
I kept thinking because they always showed him sort of looking out from beneath a brow. It was like it always looked like he was sarcastic. That's just me, but still, I didn't find him all that threatening really in that respect. Otherwise, a lot of the size comparison stuff, the general scale did look quite good, and I took a special note of the city. I can't remember if it was Tokyo.
Probably was.
Where I was thinking of, but yeah, the lights and the way they put that all together looked great, and that much I have to admit.
Well, I must say that in terms of storyline and character development, Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah was probably the high point of the Heisei Godzilla era. But from the standpoint of visual effects, at least in miniature work, Godzilla 1985 was probably the best entry of that time. To me, the Godzilla suit might have looked more consistent as a whole, perhaps a little more organic in later movies, but as if to compensate, the cityscapes he walks through, or rampages through, look worse and worse in every Heisei Godzilla film. As you said, well, the miniature work in 1985 looks brilliant. I think it looks better than all those that came after. Well, all those in the Heisei series that came after.
Yeah, the Heisei series kind of made a point of, well, what they did a lot was showing Godzilla in the kind of in the daytime, so they could minimize their use of lights and stuff like that. They really tried to simplify cities, which doesn't really work for realism. But yeah, with the storyline, I thought that it was pretty straightforward, but it did have enough twists and turns throughout to make it interesting. And the characters themselves, most of those characters were pretty unremarkable, but they did serve their purpose. One character I did especially like, despite the fact that every other instinct in me says not to, is the drunk character who gets belligerent with Godzilla.
Yes.
That guy is awesome. That guy is on my team. The same team that has Jake from The Shining,
Ah, right.
That guy, he's standing up to Godzilla. Yeah.
And well, what did you think of? Before I ask this question, I should mention that this will spoil the end. So if any of you haven't seen Godzilla 1985, perhaps you should come back later. What did you think of the ending, in which Godzilla is essentially trapped in an erupting volcano? I actually found it to be quite a poignant ending. It was fairly moving.
It was pretty moving. It was only ruined in part by the fact that I kept having Power Ranger flashbacks to the Red Rangers thing, but you probably don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, I never watched the Power Rangers when I was little. My mother wouldn't let me.
Fair enough. And
I was never interested, really.
But yeah, that's only a side thought. It was a pretty poignant scene. The one thing that I did observe, though, is that in most other Godzilla movies,
yes,
that's the plan that fails. The plan they try that seems very clever, but in the end it'll take something more, a Deus Ex Machina of some sort to get rid of Godzilla. So it was kind of cool that a plan that they came up with worked.
Yes.